Sorry. That was one of the worst intros I've ever done. Ooh, I've definitely run out of idea. So, unfortunately, it's one of those weeks where Tethyosaurus shawkey or Mosasaur Prince of Steel has no ideas for a video, and that's because a lot of personal stuff has been going on recently. Mainly, I have a broken down car. Yeah, my Lightning McQueen doesn't go ka-chow! It goes, and that's it. Yep, so car dead bad. But anyways, I thought I'd do a video where I do a selection of my favourite fossils, not really a top 10 or a top 20 or anything like that, but just, I'd like to detail some of my fossils. Some really cool ones, you know, there's no particular order to them, I'm just going to grab them, show them you, and yeah, that's about it, so let's crack on! So let's start off with a bang with the fossil that I bought out in Morocco a few years ago, and this is the tooth of a Kem plesiosaur. Now, in my hand, you can't see many very details. If I bring it up close to the camera, it won't do anything. So, in fact, I'll show you a picture here, but the story behind this is I actually bought this from a miner out in Morocco, and at first, I thought it was a pterosaur tooth. I thought, brilliant, this is a lovely looking pterosaur tooth. But on closer inspection by a friend of mine, it was actually identified as a possible plesiosaur tooth. And by the way, this is before the paper that came out by Longrich et al. Detailing Leptoclidid, I think it was Leptoclidid in the Kem. So I actually had a plesiosaur tooth from the Kem before we knew plesiosaurs were out in the Kem. That's insane. Now, as we probably detailed in a few of my videos, I'm a very big lover of Gryphea, the Devil's Toenail. Absolutely beautiful, and I've got a massive collection of them. I've got a whole shelf dedicated to them. They're absolutely gorgeous, they're fantastic. People say they're ugly fossils, but I say, you what, mate? But anyways, first up we got the Gryphea that I showed in one of my previous videos, and this is the one I bought from Bakewell, particularly the Bakewell Rock Exchange, which I will be at next week. So if you're down there and you see me, come over, have a chat. If you don't see me, I'm sorry. But anyways, Gryphea, beautiful piece, cost me £10, absolutely gorgeous, very minimal erosion on it, very, very minimal. It's got both its valves, it's been prepped wonderfully, it's been glossed over, which looks like maybe beeswax, which is commonly used to finish off fossils. Looks absolutely fantastic. What a beautiful piece. Now the next one, this was found in what's called King's Dyke, and this is a natural reserve that you can get a membership for. There's a fossil pit of upwelling mud of the Oxford clay. So you've got a whole range of different animals in there. You've got a lot of shells, a lot of bivalves, plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, pliosaurs, sharks, the whole lot. Now, I went out there with my other half a couple of years ago. You know, nice day. We found loads of bits, loads of belemnites, loads of Gryphea. There's one particular Gryphea that I found that I actually find quite amusing. It's this fella here. This is a juvenile Gryphea, and his valve has sat on top, or you could say the belemnite has actually sat on top of the Gryphea, and I like to call him Winston Churchill. That's the joke. Next up are some Moroccan ammonites that come from the same area as Tethyosaurus, particularly from the same formation, from the Akrabou formation, which dates from around about the Cenomanian, late Cenomanian to the early Turonian, so around about 93 to 90 million years ago, around that range. The particular ammonite there that's famous for, which actually has its own biozone there, as well as rocks in France, is Mammites nodosoides, a beautiful ammonite, a sort of knobbly looking ammonite. This is a beautiful example I bought off of someone a few years ago. Love the suture patterns on that, absolutely fantastic, and you can see the nodular spikes on there. Beautiful, beautiful animal, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Saw some big ones out there, and in fact, I managed to get my hands on quite a nice size one. This one, unfortunately, has been cut in half, but I got rid of the other half, and I've kept this half. Look at the internal chambers there, absolutely fantastic. Now on this one, you actually have the main chambered part, and then you have the body chamber. You can see how it differentiates from the shell. The suture patterns don't carry over there, and it's very smooth. It's very nice, very smooth, and very, very big, much larger than this one. I actually have a couple of these to actually show the ontogeny of Mammites from the Turonian beds of the Akrabou formation. Absolutely fantastic pieces. Again, just really cool ammonites, really, really cool. Next up, some absolutely fantastic fossils that I love that a lot of people don't seem to really care about, and if you don't, you should. Belemnites. Now, this one was from my Brunswick video back in March, my birthday, by the way. I'm getting old. This one was a near complete Phragmacone and guard. I still need to get a proper display board for it. In fact, I'm making a display board for it, I'll show you in the future. But this was a nice size one. This is probably a Megateuthus or maybe a larger Paralopaciteuthus, but again, really cool piece, really cool piece. Unfortunately, some of the elements of it is missing, but this is how big it would be. It's absolutely just gigantic. It's a big Belemnite, big Belemnite. Lovely piece, and probably one of my favourite Belemnites in my collection. Speaking of Runswick Bay, my favourite find from Runswick Bay is this. Orthodactylates tenicostatum or Dactyloceras tenicostatum. This one was the one that I popped on the video, and I later prepped using my Dremel tools. I even put some polish wax on it, which has caused it to, just look at that. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I even did a little mouth border in there for it. What a fantastic piece, and a beautiful pop as well. These ammonites are supreme, they are absolutely superb, and I hope in the near future to get down to the Yorkshire coast and do some more fossil hunting and probably maybe try and get one or two of these again. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. No, there's nothing going on. First mosasaur of the video, that's a very big hint for later, but I thought I'd show one of my phosphate mosasaurs, one of my favourite phosphate mosasaurs. This is the tooth, and probably the largest tooth I've actually seen, of Hinosaurus bubica. Now, Hinosaurus bubica is sort of the last of the Tylosaurians, the first great large lineage of mosasaurs, and this is a fantastic tooth. Look at the size of it. You can see the striae, you can see some of the faceting, you can even see some of the enamel waves going up the tooth. Absolutely gorgeous. You just turn it around, absolutely beautiful. This tooth, I believe I measured about 7 centimeters, which is the biggest I've personally seen. I know there are larger ones out there, but just an absolutely gorgeous tooth from a monster mosasaur up to 12 meters long. These were big animals, and this probably came from some of the biggest examples of that particular species. So story time. I was on the Isle of Wight a few years ago with a friend of mine during my university days, and we were going to Sandown to look for anything and everything down there. So you've got Wealden Group material, so like Vectis Formation, which is really plentiful. If you've seen my previous video with Benji Thomas on the Isle of Wight. Now, we were looking through the shingles, and he found himself an iguanodon tooth. Beautiful thing, absolutely gorgeous. Seconds later, a few feet away from him in the shingles, I found this. Now, this is the partial tooth of a predator, a predatory dinosaur that would have hunted iguanodon. This is the partial tooth of Neovedator saluri, which was a 7 to 8, maybe 9 meter long predator. This was a Carcharodonsaurid type animal. Now, its phylogeny is a bit at the moment. It might be an Allosauroid, it might be a Coelurosauroid. To my knowledge, we're really not sure. But it was a top predator. This thing was eating iguanodons, it was scaring off baryonyxes, it was doing whatever it wanted because it was a top predator during the Cretaceous of the United Kingdom around about 125 million years ago. Superb animal, and I could not believe that I'd found a partial tooth for this animal. I was extremely excited, and I actually had it confirmed by paleontologist David Martell, who was also my university supervisor at the time. So yeah, Neovedator saluri. Wow, can't believe it. Wow. Now we're going to get a bit hairy at the moment, and when I mean hairy, I mean woolly rhino. So this was the tooth that my partner actually bought me for our anniversary earlier this year. It was a woolly rhino tooth that I saw on Vinted, and I said, oh, I'd love that. And then seconds later, it was gone. And that's because she bought it. A sly girl. But anyways, fantastic woolly rhino tooth. Always wanted a woolly rhino tooth in my collection, and this one is absolutely superb, absolutely banging. But before that, a year before, I managed to get my hands on a really special woolly rhino fossil, and it's this. This is the neck vertebra of all the woolly rhino, and it is absolutely massive. So whatever this was attached to was a very big animal, and it is absolutely fantastic to have this in my collection. What an absolute piece. Now, for those of you who don't know, my favourite dinosaur, and the dinosaur that pretty much got me back into paleontology a decade or so ago, even maybe further back than that, is this guy. This is the tooth of Carcharodonsaurus saharicus, the African king of Cretaceous North Africa. Now, this particular tooth I actually bought out when I was in Morocco. Now, just gorgeous. I'll put some pictures up, and you can just see the serration of the enamel on it. It's fantastic, absolutely gorgeous. This tooth, wow, is probably the best example I have of Carcharodontosaurus teeth. I do have two other teeth, one of them actually getting rid of at the time. But yeah, this tooth, absolutely fantastic. Beautiful example, lovely example. And if you can get your hands on a Carcharodontosaurus tooth, you will not regret it. This one comes with the Kem. The Egyptian stuff I'm aware of right now is a new taxon, Tamaraptor. So if you have an Egyptian Carcharodontosaurus tooth, probably belongs to that guy. But then again, you know, still, wow. And Carcharodontosaurus, wow. So for those of you who don't know, I had my birthday last year in Lyme Regis and Charmouth for a few days. Found some brilliant fossils, did some brilliant fossil hunting. On one of the days I was in Lyme Regis, near Black Ven, I actually found a really cool fossil. I reached under a boulder, grabbed hold of a piece of pyrite, and this was in it. If you can see it, that is an ichthyosaur vertebra, a baby ichthyosaur vertebra. What a find. What a find. When you go down to Lyme Regis, one of the things you want to find is a piece of ichthyosaur, and luckily enough I was able to find this and actually a piece of jaw of an ichthyosaur. So wow, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. But yeah, when I saw this, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had it confirmed by a friend of mine that yes, this is actually an ichthyosaur vertebra and possibly a juvenile ichthyosaur vertebra. So not only did I find an ichthyosaur vertebra, I found a baby one. How cool is that? It's a little baby. It's a little nipper. So while I was also in Lyme Regis, I found a quite nice block full of oyster material and wood, and I started prepping it out. Now, there was a little black piece in the block, and on closer inspection, I actually found out this is a fish scale. Not only that, this is a fish scale from a fish that I've been looking for up in Yorkshire, and now I'd found it in Lyme Regis. So this is the scale of Dipidium, a sort of deep-bodied crushing fish. Now you can find beautiful specimens on Lyme Regis, on the Lyme Regis coast. You can also find beautiful specimens in Yorkshire. Now this was a piece that I just did not expect to find, but I was lucky enough to prep it with a Dremel and be extraordinarily careful with it. Now, what was the distinguishing factor? Well, there's two distinguishing factors for this one. Number one, the rectangularness of it. It has a very ganoid sort of looking scale, as we say. So ganoid refers to either Lepidotes types or even Dipidium types. Doesn't mean they're the same fish. Doesn't mean they're closely related. It just means they have a similar scale morphology. The other thing is that Dipidiums actually have serrations on their scales. Now, I've been actually told that a lot of museum collection Dipidiums have actually accidentally had the serrations on their scales accidentally prepped off during preparation, which is whoops. Now we come to the final two fossils, and we've got the first one. Now, this one was actually prepped by a good friend of mine, Mania Fossils, so Alison and Oliver from Mania Fossils. Again, thank you guys for prepping this one. This one's fantastic. This is a block containing the vertebrae and ribs of Tethyosaurus nopska, the mosasaur that I just love. Just absolutely love. But this piece is fantastic. It's got a collection of vertebrae and ribs in there, probably thoracic vertebrae from the looks of them. Now, I like to name all my Tethyosaurus material, and this one I've called Phil, as in phylogeny, because my mosasaur phylogeny is absolutely, yeah, it's a mess. But it's a big mess. Like this, like Phil. Say hello, Phil. Hello. Goodbye. And finally, we've got the girl herself, one of my prized possessions in my collection, a beautiful piece. This is Tethany. Tethyosaurus nopska. This is beautiful. You're beautiful, aren't you? Don't judge me. But yeah, Tethany, partial skeleton of a Tethyosaurus. She seems, well, she's got her bottom jaws there, she's got her maxillary teeth there, maxillary jaws there, and she's just a jumble of mess here. So it seems like she was scattered. She was pretty much very scattered. But even on the back, I did some prep on the back. You can see there's the frontals. Beautiful piece, absolutely gorgeous. The gemstone in my gem collection, if you like. Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. What a piece. What a centerpiece to my mosasaur collection. Absolutely gorgeous. You're beautiful, aren't you? Yes, you can stop judging me now. But yeah, I thought I'd just go through a selection of my fossils, just show you off what I've got. And by the way, when I say a selection, I do mean a selection because I've got a massive lot of fossils. It's a problem. It's a problem. Yes, I know it is. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Please send me some photos and comment below what you have in your fossil collection. Please comment, like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is you do. Anyways, guys, I'll see you later. Ta-da. Bye.